Yo, I'm just going to dive right into it just because we are middle of the session. I'm going to talk about just some order flow stuff that I've seen this morning that could have really helped you out in this kind of slow grind up. And then just, I know it looks sketchy from just looking at the candles and people are like, oh, any moment, it could just dump. And they're thinking a lot about yesterday, but I'm going to show you why order flow is kind of letting me see through that right now. And it's not shaking me out of my long. I am initial entry was 71.51, and then I added over 71.63. So average is, I think, 56, around the middle. So let's dive right into it. First of all, I just want to go into yesterday's session because they're using the TR pocket, which I've talked a bit about before. You could have had some just a sniper entry, and I'm doing this on ES because ES is moving more in balance. NQ is more exasperated on both ends. It is up a bit more today, but during the cash session, it's actually about an equal movement up and down. It's during the New York session, it hasn't gone up a lot more than ES. They're moving almost in tandem right now. So ES is controlling the show. That's where the volume's at. NQ is just, along for the ride, even though tech earnings have been great. So I think that's part of the reason why it's up a significant amount more than ES, is just because of the tech earnings, with Intel killing it. I think AMD is coming up or something, but a lot of AI is really up right now. Anyways, let's just dive into it. I'm going to pull out my Fib tool. This is from yesterday's session. So here is a previous big drop. I think that was, Wednesday. What was that, Wednesday? Right. That was a little bit after open. It was after Globex open. So Asia session, it was something about Iran, a Trump, the war, the ceasefire's off, it literally goes back and forth. I don't even care these days. Eventually there will be boots on the ground and that'll be it. So Fibonacci tool, swing low to swing high right there. So that is the bottom of that Asia move. And then we're deep into yesterday's New York session. This is the swing high. So I always mark this out just to see, in case any of these moves happen. And sometimes I put sneaky little entries if they line up. And sure enough, the TR pocket. So again, swing low, swing high. That's their last major swing low and swing high. TR pocket actually lines up right below Monday lows, right below these stacked equal lows, and right around where I saw an initiative buyer around 70.85, which is previous contract 70.40, which was a huge pivot. There was a big macro buyer there before and then flip seller. So this is a big pivot already. It all lines up. So I'm just like, oh, that's going to be a sneak entry if I get it. And then to my surprise, when that happened, I saw it coming down and I got my limit ready and took it. And I only took it to rebalance around the midsection of the week. And it actually went a little higher, but quick in and out, and I was good for the day. Let's just go a little bit further in. I'm going to mark out too. You'll also notice on NQ when it did that dump. So look at NQ. So here's the SMT. If you know anything about how I mark standard deviations, I mark it out on manipulations during key opens. Lunchtime has become a key open because of the significant amount of moves that happen during lunchtime. I now treat it as a key open. I treat midnight the same as I do the next day lunchtime. They're both key opens on top of your 4-hour opens and session opens. So anyways, look, you see lower low there, and here's the same same low on NQ, higher low during that dump. So there's the SMT. So I'm already gonna pull out, if you know anything about my standard deviation, how I mark them out. My rule is, my strategy is, I mark them out on the 5-minute manipulation leg that creates the SMT. So I'm on ES, that created the SMT, it made the lower low. I drag it from the 5-minute swing high to swing low there. Just switch it to standard deviation. Boom. This is now what I'm viewing as going to be a macro extension kind of map for me on where, oh, dude, look at that. See, we're going to get into this and why I was seeing it already. I'm about to hit TP. As soon as it gets over that level, I'm gonna take about half off. I have said, yeah, boom, I'm half out, and the rest is running. I'm excited to hear about this news. That is kind of cool that this happened mid-session because I can't wait to talk about it. Anyways, look at this initially, 2 standard deviation. That is your first kind of TP on this macro move. Boom, what do we see? This overnight session in London, that is an immediate rejection there. And then we come into this chopped New York session, and then we're kind of wondering what's going to happen there. And this is why I'm viewing higher on this whole leg. I'm still looking at for a squeeze above. I'm not looking below yet. I have targets above. We're going to get into all of that. Initially, I'll talk a little bit macro-wise about, macroeconomics kind of thing. So Goldman has come out recently and said that pension funds are going to be doing their largest ever rebalancing period that is non-quarterly. So normally it's normal to do a quarterly rebalancing period for all asset management funds, managed money. This time, pension funds, I don't know the cause of it. It could just be, the boomer generation is retiring and there's going to be a large amount of rebalancing, basically people taking profits on their portfolios. This is another reason why I have like a bearish outlook on the market for the next 10 years. Just because there's not enough money coming in to replace all the boomer money that is essentially exiting for retirement in these pension funds, along with a number of headwinds coming up, and the economic whirlwinds and stuff. But we'll get into all that. So yeah, anyways, I'm very happy about that. That is done day for me, or mostly. The rest is just runners, so I don't really care. Okay. So let's dive further into it. So there we go. So there's my macro map. I am looking at all the way above. This is a macro TR pocket as well. It lines up with other things that I have on SPX. So around this 7,300 region, I am going to be watching the tape like a hawk. I'll be watching for it to come during a key time during New York session, and I will be buying essentially put leaps. I will be buying like long-term puts that are anywhere from like 2 to 6 months out. And taking a little bit of a risk there on attempting to time the top of the market. Just so many confluence are aligning. I know that if I don't just like at least take the risk down the road 6 months, if we're thousands of points lower, I'm gonna be freaking kicking myself in the nuts for not taking that, because I'll be like, dude, you literally saw the signs and you didn't do anything. So I know they say try not to time tops. I will be doing a dabbling in the top in the 7,300 area, and if I see more confirmation, I will just only add to it. So we're going to get into this chop session that we have here. I'll mark out this other standard deviation that I saw overnight. Where are we here? I'm just getting a little lost. Okay, so this is overnight London session. There we go. So what do we have? There's a midnight price. So midnight open is right there. And then London session, lower low right there. Same thing, higher low here. There's midnight. So there's an SMT that is a key open SMT. So I mark out as well. I'm just doing this. I didn't actually take this, but I looked at it this morning. This only just reinforces my strategy for me. I just like to always mark it out, even if I didn't take it, if I missed it because I was sleeping. I just like to see my strategy continuing to prove itself. And all right, here we go. All right, so there it is. ES again, making the manipulation. It is making the SMT lower low there, so I mark it out on the manipulation leg. I know you might be thinking, oh, from here to here. No, I'm going this. Look, there's a 5-minute low. There's a 5-minute lower low. There's a 5-minute higher high. That's a 5-minute manipulation leg. I know it looks small, but look how it lines up, because the 4.5 is like your finisher move. If you're expecting price to return, this is like literally pre-market. So I don't expect price, unless there's huge news, I don't expect the market to just, come down a bit and then keep going higher. I can't remember if this is, there might have been some news, but basically I'm saying, unless this is like, oh, the war is off, I'm looking for it to come back and rebalance in around here, especially for New York session, like New York is not going to chase up there. It's very rare that they're just going to buy higher after all of this. You know, on NQ, we don't even have a freaking wick, I think, on the daily open. So yeah, you want to see a lot of proof before you just start chasing longs after that. So yeah, look at that. Sure enough, if you were up during this London session, that would have been, this is previous week high. It takes it, you know, that's another confluence I know for ICT traders, takes previous week high, 4.5, boom, you know, take it all the way down, and you could take it into this region where there's the initial, what do you call it, first presented 5-minute gaps that I know people love. So yeah, you could do that. You know, there's lots of ways you could target it down there. This would have been a little bit choppy, but that would have been my confidence. If I was up and watching that, I would have been taking that all day. All right, now let's get into this session that we're currently in, and how I was playing it essentially. So we're gonna go again. I'm just gonna get rid of this just so it's not a distraction. I want to have minimal distraction on the screen for this. This is how I played the session that we're currently in right now. I just TP'd about half up there. I've been long since around these POCs, 71.51, and then added again higher. We're going to do OTE, golden pocket, very standard stuff. There's lots of info out there on OTE. Let me just change it right now. All right, so last swing low right there to swing high. All right, this is your pre-market. There's London low to, yeah, pre-market, whatever you want to call it. The most recent swing high, always good to mark out, because then you can kind of see your dealing range, and from there, you know, look, this is what I'm eyeing right now, is, okay, here is the golden pocket right here, right? In these yellow lines, 0.618, 0.69. That is what I'm curious about. That's what I'm watching to see hold. And it does a really choppy job. The bid is slop. And I'll go into that a little bit more as well to discuss why. But this is why you kind of wait a lot of times for the initial balance, the IB, to form. You'll hear people talk about IB. They're saying initial balance. That is the first hour, of the session open. So first hour, New York initial balance, 9:30 Eastern to 10:30 Eastern. So you could have waited all this chop out basically and been chilling, and then you basically, you know, manipulation, boom, done. Your IB happened. It didn't manipulate outside of the IB, but it still made a move lower to, again, reinforce this pivot, 71.50, and then move higher. And I know it looks sketch. We're going to look into the order flow, because during this whole move up, I know people are thinking, like immediate, like take all this out, crash down. I'm either counting on this to hold, or I'm looking down here at this TR pocket, you know, and then from then on, I'd be like, okay, I don't know what's going on in the session. It's going lower. I don't know. Those are my two focal points. That doesn't hold. TR pocket lines up with Monday mid. We're below these swing lows there. So I'd expect that to hold. Go from there. All right, so here we go. Golden pocket is holding this entire time. It does not, yeah, it closes a little bit outside, but after that, I would, you know, once it closes outside, I'd want to see another close outside. I'd want to see continuation. I'd want to see sellers made an attempt to initiate lower. Buyers obviously try and attempt to rebalance back into balance. This is initial balance again. And then sellers go, nope, we're going lower. We're going to distribute lower, and that is the job today. Instead, no, buyers go, we're holding this thing inside IB, and we're going to keep buying in this zone, and then we're going to make our initial move later. I know some people are going, oh, you know, you love to see a big SMT. You'd love to see like one of them take London lows and the other not to really confirm longs. Again, check YM. YM is the big brother. It's like, I wouldn't say the big brother. I'd say ES is the big brother. I would say YM is the older brother. YM takes London low right there. So I had an alert. You can see it right there set. You know, if I was like, if YM takes London low, this is reinforcing my long idea for the day, you know, even if these two do not take London low. All right, let's dive into the order flow, because I know you're going to be like, show me how the order flow gave you confidence. Here we go. So here we are in the open. Again, I'm looking at ES. I already described why earlier. I can still talk a little bit about NQ, but we're just gonna focus on ES. I know, it's not as exciting, but the swings aren't as big either. And, it's more relaxing for me to be in this trade, honestly, than this, back and forth huge chop, like, 100-point swings. This is 10 points, I just size up a little bit. I'm chilling. We get the open coming in. I'm staring at 150. 150 was kind of an initiative buyer from this big candle up. I'm looking for it to hold. And what do I see as we come in here? I see aggressive sellers trying to sell lower. Look at that, like 194 lots, 184 lots, 201. They're trying to push lower, and I'm waiting out this IB. I see here, you probably see like these are limit orders scooping it up. Buyers are not willing to buy back down here. They're buying up here. So this is why you're seeing, sellers that are failing to initiate lower. There's too many limit orders up here, just absorbing, and they're turning into market orders. And then you see these buyers are starting to make the initiative move. You're seeing big market orders at once. What was that, like 300, almost 400 lots, 260 lots. I think that's around 300 lots. And they're fighting. There's a lot of chop in here. Sellers are still trying to push lower. They want lower. Obviously, NQ has this huge gap. There's no wick on the daily. So you can be definitely sure that there's a lot of seller aggression as well. Like I mentioned before, pension funds selling right now, they're doing this huge rebalancing. That is what I believe is creating a lot of this chop as well, is the selling of underlying equities at the same time as funds, managed assets, managed money are buying futures long. They're continuing this squeeze up. There's a lot of bearish put options in the market. It's heavily weighted to the downside, and it can create this short squeeze opportunity, these gamma squeezes opportunities where price can then catapult, on any given news or whatever. So that's what I believe is happening. That's why there's so much chop in the initial opening. Is there's a lot of equities being sold here, but futures are being bought to essentially cushion and then prop it up. And then once people are done selling the actual underlying equities, you have, futures being bought along the way. And then, obviously retail is piling in, buying equities. So retail is buying more. These funds are actually selling right now. CTAs, commodity trading advisors, are still actually long. If you look at it, here's the CO2 data. I always like to look at this to see where CTAs are positioned, because this is where all the big money is at. And on futures, ES, which is where all the volume is, they are still very, very net long. Look at this, asset manager, institutional, green line right here. We're still $1 million in the green on the delta for contracts on ES. So CTAs are very net long this market. I don't really want to be shorting until I hit my targets and I see, maybe not net short. They eventually will be, but I don't want to switch until I see like quite a dramatic change in this movement, along with hitting my price targets above. So let's continue on. So you see this failed push to the downside. You see sellers are really trying to push down. You see these big contract sells right here, and prices is failing to go lower. So right now I'm looking at a reversal. I'm going, if this holds and we start, so I'm dabbling right here. I see these big buys. I dabble a little bit, 5 contracts on micros. So I'm dabbling already because I have just a lot of confluences being like, this is going to reverse and I want to be in, and I know I can be immediately wrong if I start to see a move to the downside and take a minimal hit. This is like, I got a tight stop here. I'm below 140's 10-point stop. I'm out. And I'm continuing to watch the market after that and just reposition. But it holds. So these sellers fail to initiate lower. Buyers are starting to initiate higher. Prices starting to initiate higher. And then my favorite thing to see in this is CVD divergence. I love to see it. It is such an added confluence to me. So I see CVD So that is cumulative volume delta. So just the difference in buyers and sellers in the market. So here's where you're seeing it right here. If you can see my cursor. So you see negative, you see a lot of volume coming in to sell, negative 756. There's 756 more sellers than buyers in this 5-minute candle. And then right after, this is where I get excited. You see still continued selling to the downside. What does price do? Price actually finishes green. There is the divergence. You have more sellers than buyers. Price finished in the green, positive. So that's a divergence upwards. And then continued on. This is where I bang it in. This is where I'm fully positioned. I see again, because sometimes you'll see an initial divergence, but that's just one side playing around with you, and then boom, they freaking nuke it one way or the other. So I love to wait for another confirmation. I want to be above this opening price as well on the cash session. So there's so many things here. Yeah, I see seller again trying to move it lower. Buyers, aggressive market buyers, just pushing it higher. Closes above that seller. We're right around this POC, and then after that. So I'm fully positioned after this, and I know it was moving slow and people are getting sketched out. This is what I'm watching on order flow. I'm watching larger size orders come in. So this is just adding to the move. And I'd be more worried if we see these orders coming in, these large market orders, and some of them too, because we're hitting these highs, some of them are also could be stop outs. I'm watching how they're coming in, and sometimes it's like it wicks up and immediately you see this large market order. That is a larger stop loss getting hit. But sometimes I'm seeing a move up, and then so right here that hits and then it comes down, and then I see a market order. That is a buyer positioning for higher. So what I saw here was move up. You see 217 lots immediately getting hit as a market order. That is over these highs. That's likely a stop. So that happens, but then I see it right away, 323 lots bought. And so I'm going, oh no, there's a buyer that's still trying to cushion this and like hold it higher. They do not want to go and revisit that IB. So they're pushing this whole way up. All you see is big buyer, big buyer, big buyer. And then you see this initial, so then we chop around here for a little bit. People are starting to get worried. They're like, oh, I don't know, might go downside. I'm just stops break even right now, which is like 156. So I'm just like, I'm safe either way. If that does happen, if there's news like there was yesterday, whatever, take the break even. But yeah, I see all this green basically. You've more divergences coming in here as well on the CVD. So again, more sellers in these two candles. This one barely finishes green. This one does finish green. More CVD telling me, this could really get moving soon. Because buyers are buying heavy right now and they don't care what sellers are trying to do. There's your little attempt, not little attempt, someone tried 300 lots to the downside and immediately rebalanced. Boom, big buy right there. And I'll look and see what the news was. Rocketed. And then here we are, 71.94. We're knocking on 200, psychological level 7,200. We're seeing some big sells up there. So I'm already half out here, so I'm good for the day. I'm chilling. What happens after here is really not my business. Let's just go back to the chart. Yeah, so we took the highs. I expect there to be some seller aggression after here, after we're getting so close to the 7,200 level. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. Yeah, you could have just watched CS and then taken NQ if you wanted the whole way along. But yeah, that's what I was seeing. That's why I wasn't really that nervous in that slow chop up, because I knew in that grind up, buyers were just adding. And there was really no seller momentum coming in there. I didn't see any big sell orders that then had a move downside to confirm. It was only them just getting dunked on the whole way up, and especially there. And then look, even there, we have some big sells here. Currently, it's holding right now. Selling attempt right after it took the highs there at 71.90. But buyers are still holding price up. So we'll see what this does into the rest of the session. I really just wanted to get that all out there because I just was like, ooh, this is a juicy order flow session that if you are peeking behind the books at this level 2 data, then you are not nervous through this whole pump up. Not the same as you'd be as just watching it on you know, candles and being like, oh, what's going to happen kind of thing. That is why I love order flow so much. So anyways, that's all for today. Hope everyone has a good day. As always, ask questions if you need to. I will probably actually make just a little YouTube channel just to upload these videos in just like one straight shot format that are also like higher definition, because I do have to reduce the size and quality when I upload them into Discord. Anyways, have a good day, guys. See ya.